closing your eyes. Good to see you. All right. So let's just begin by extending an invitation to our minds to be here right now, in this moment, acknowledging that this moment is holy, this moment is precious. And so we tell our frantic minds, it's safe to come back home now. It's safe to come back here to the present moment. Allowing our minds to return back home to the quiet present. The quiet present that is really eternal. And a doorway back to the eternal. And the goal here is to allow our minds to slow down and to become quiet and to open to all that is on the other side of quiet. Quiet is the door that we open onto eternity. And so we are learning how to have a quiet mind. And in the quiet mind, we choose a state of mind where our mind is simply open and receptive to everything that is, that we've forgotten about. And so instead of generating our own thoughts, we practice keeping our minds open to receive. And so we say to our minds, we say to ourselves, my mind is now open to receive. Speak to us, love, that we may be healed. And if we find our mind beginning to generate its own thoughts, we say, peace to my mind, let all my thoughts be still. What does a quiet mind feel like? What does a quiet mind hear? And what happens in your body when your mind is quiet? And if your mind begins to wander, just take note of what it is that your ego thinks is more important than practicing the silence every now and again. And notice that a quiet mind is an open mind. And so for just a moment, see if you can experience the spaciousness of your open mind. And into our open and quiet minds, let's go ahead and invite the higher mind to be in charge tonight, to speak to us tonight and to answer what it is that our higher mind knows that we most need to hear tonight. Higher mind, we invite you into our healing circle. We trust you. We trust your love for us. We trust your knowledge of us, for us. And we ask to hear from you this evening what you know we most need to hear tonight, that we may have peace and love and safety and abundance. Tonight we ask for nothing but your will. We ask nothing but your will be done in us and through us tonight. And we give to you this healing circle, and we give to you our bodies, that you may use this circle the spirit of truth and spirit of healing, which we share. We know that you come wherever you are called, and we call you into the midst of this circle of healing. And we ask to see what you would have us see, and hear what you would have us hear. For we would accept your word for us and be healed, which means made whole, which means made happy, tonight, together. And just breathe in that invitation. Breathe in that experience of inviting the higher mind and feel its arrival. It was already here. See if you can tune into the awareness of its presence. For the higher mind never fails to answer that call, that invitation. What does it feel like to invite the higher mind back into your awareness from a quiet mind, an open mind? And what does it feel like to make that invitation and have that invitation answered with others? What does that feel like? And for just a few moments more, let us remember the family of God with whom we are one. And let us remember our oneness and ask on behalf of every soul of God that the will of God be done on earth, right here, right now. And on behalf of the souls of God with whom we are one, let us remember that we are one self. We are one self united with our Creator and united with every aspect of creation. And for just a few moments, let's remember that for the family of God. And for anyone who has forgotten that for themselves tonight. For all the world, we remember together tonight that we are one self, united with our Creator and each other forevermore. And we give thanks for that. just take a deep breath and bring your awareness back to the room and back to your body and yawn and stretch. Take a deep breath. Whew. Let that set. Let that set in your body. All right. Yummy, yummy. Thank you guys for joining with me in that. I love meditating and praying together. All right. You guys notice a difference of meditating and praying with other people? You ever notice that difference? It seems to be, there's something about it that helps to keep my awareness focused on the goal, right? On the goal. Like y'all being around helps me to do that. So thank you for joining me on that. All right, so where we are at tonight is we are in the original edition, and we're in chapter 4. We're just starting chapter 4 tonight. So, if anybody needs an original edition, I think there's 2 on the piano, 2 open that could be purchased. So, just in case you need that, but okay. So. So that is chapter 4 in the original edition. And the name of this chapter, let me know if anybody needs help finding that.
Anybody need this book?
Okay. Yes, so the name of this chapter is The Root of All Evil. Yes. In the original edition, in the edited version, it's something like something illusions.
The illusion of the ego?
Yes, the illusions of the ego. Okay.
Yeah.
So, so in the original edition, there was a lot that was edited out of the original edition, which is what I'm teaching from right now. And I decided to go through the original edition because there's so much beautiful, juicy material in it that I really wanted to learn. So that's why we're going through the original. Plus, I just like it better. So, all right. So, the root of all evil. That's a kind of compelling title of a chapter, huh? Makes you wonder, what's the root of all evil? Okay. So, it says, the Bible says that you should go with a brother twice as far as he asks. Then it says, it certainly does not suggest that you set a brother back on their journey. And devotion to a brother cannot set you back either. Devotion to a brother can lead only to mutual progress. I love that. It's like, when you are devoted to another, it cannot set you back. You can never be set back by being devoted to another. I love hearing that. Then it says, devotion to a brother can lead only to mutual progress. And the result of genuine devotion is inspiration, a word which properly understood is the opposite of fatigue. Oh, interesting. Okay. So I experience fatigue sometimes. Do you guys? Fatigue. Okay, what is the opposite of fatigue? Inspiration. I'm worn out, I'm tired, I'm fatigued because I am not inspired. I am not inspired. That's why I'm worn out. That's why I'm fatigued. I'm not inspired. Isn't that interesting definition of fatigue? Interesting that that's what they say is what fatigue comes from. And then I'm fatigued because I'm not inspired. And why am I not inspired? Because I'm not expressing any genuine devotion at this moment. Maybe I was yesterday when I was feeling great, inspired. But how interesting that I'm feeling fatigued because I'm not feeling inspired, because I am not expressing genuine devotion to another. And chances are good I'm not expressing genuine devotion to another because I believe that devotion to another sets me back. I help them forward, I fall back. That's my misperception about what devotion means or what devotion does. Interesting. So I'm not supposed to be setting people back on their journey. I'm supposed to be going twice as far as somebody asks. And going twice as far as they ask, doing more than they ask, is a great definition of devotion to another. Doing twice as much as they ask. Part of me does not like to hear this right now, because I'm already busy enough. See how my ego tells me that helping others sets me back, right? Helping others sets me back. I don't have time to help other people. I am busy. I would not get my list done if I am busy helping others, right? What does it say? Going with them twice as far as they ask, right? I tell myself if I help other people, it will set me back. And I will not have time for me or to get done what I need to do. It'll set me back somehow. But at the same time, then that's why I feel fatigued. Wow. I'm not fatigued because I'm busy. I'm not fatigued because I have a lot of things to do. I'm fatigued because I'm not in service. I'm not helping. I'm not expressing genuine devotion. Wow. And it makes total sense. I can work a full day doing errands and doing stuff for me, my list, my, me, my, and by the end of the day I'm exhausted. And then I could do the same amount of busyness and work in service somehow to others, and I walk out of there and I've got all the energy that I need. We've all experienced that. You know, helping somebody, being of service to somebody, and you just feel energized, right? And so I love hearing that, oh yeah, right, if I'm fatigued and I'm worn out, then there's a good chance that I'm not expressing service to others at that moment or that day. Maybe I was the day before, but I was not in service. I was not expressing devotion, because the result of genuine devotion is inspiration. And inspiration is the opposite of fatigue. Interesting. So it'd be interesting to look at where in your life you feel most worn out. Where do you feel most worn out? Where do you feel most fatigued? That's the place where you are not feeling inspired because you are not expressing genuine devotion to somebody, anybody, another. Okay? That's interesting. Interesting about fatigue and inspiration and devotion. It says to be fatigued is to be dispirited, but to be inspired is to be in the spirit. Now, to be egocentric is to be dispirited, but to be self-centered in the right sense is to be inspired or in the soul. The truly inspired are enlightened. And what does it mean to be enlightened? It means I cannot abide in darkness. Isn't that great? To be enlightened means I don't hang out in darkness. I can't hang out in darkness. That's what it means to be enlightened. Interesting. I'm enlightened. I don't hang out in the darkness anymore. And what does it mean to be hanging out in the darkness? It's the same thing as being egocentric. It's all about me. It's what am I going to get? What am I going to get? Right? My needs, my wants, my agenda, my script. Egocentric. It's about me. It's not about extension. It's not about service. It's not about devotion. It's not about what I can give so that I can know I have. Right? To be egocentric is to be self-centered, but not in the right sense. And when I am being egocentric, and my energy is going in only to me, then that's the same as saying I am abiding in darkness. Wow. So when I'm fatigued, I'm dispirited, and I'm dispirited because I'm hanging out in the darkness, which means I am not extending from my soul. My soul isn't an extension. But that's what a soul was created for. That's what souls were created to do. Extend. That's how we were created. That's how God created us. We were God's extended from His soul. God gave Himself from His soul, and that's how we were created. Well, since that's the way that God creates, and God created us, that's our function. That's the function of our soul, is to extend ourselves, right? And in this sense, extending of ourself is the same as saying devotion to another. I extend myself to others. I express devotion to others. Wow. And when I come out of myself to extend from myself, then I experience the light. I am enlightened, I am inspired, and I'm full of energy. Wow. Isn't that interesting? So, in the places in my life, it makes me wonder, okay, now where in my life am I not feeling really inspired? Is it my job, my relationship, my body, my home, where I live? Where is it that I'm not feeling inspired? That's where I'm going to be feeling more fatigue, more strain. Okay? Well, in what way am I being egocentric in that situation? In what way is it about me and getting me, my needs, my agenda, my script, instead of extending my soul to others? Extending who I am, extending my light, extending my joy, extending love. Isn't that interesting? I love that's a very different way of looking at what it means to be inspired. Wow. All right, any questions on that before we go into the next paragraph? Yes?
Do all people work that way, like to the same extent?
My understanding about what the ideas in the Course are that they are universal, and that we may express them differently, but that whatever is true, according to the Course in Miracles, is something that is true for everyone in all space and time, and that the truth is something that doesn't have exceptions. And that's how you can always tell the difference, according to this, between what's true and what's not, what's real and what's not. In what's true, there's no exceptions. The truth is true, and it's the truth throughout. It's true throughout. There's no exceptions, right? No conditions, no exceptions. That which is not of God, not real, is something that always makes exceptions. It's only true for some people in some circumstances at some times, okay? That's how A Course in Miracles makes a distinction between what's real and what's not, okay? Or what's true and what's false, okay? So that's how I hold it when I read the ideas in the Course, that it's something that's true for all of us, even though it may be experienced differently, okay? All right, does that answer your question? Okay. Any other questions before we go on to the next paragraph? Okay. Is anybody able to identify an area in their life where right now they do not feel totally inspired? Anybody? Okay, all right. One guy in the back, all right. One honest guy in the back, all right. Okay. So this is beautiful. Like, okay, so and I like that, you know, when I'm egocentric, so if I'm fatigued and I'm disinspired, I'm dispirited, I may want to look at what it would take to get out of myself for a few minutes and extend to others with devotion, extend myself. How can I be of service? How can I be of service in this situation right now that I'm about to fall asleep in? Okay, I'm about to fall asleep in this situation. I am feeling fatigued. I'm bored. I am not inspired. I'm exhausted. Okay, that's probably because I've been thinking about myself. What can I get? What can I get for myself? Okay, so I don't want to feel this way anymore. I don't like the way it feels. All right, so in this situation, how can I give? What would it mean to give of myself? How can I give to this situation? How can I give to the people around me? How can I be of service? You know, and so maybe I would say the prayer where I say, I'm only here to be truly helpful. In this situation, I'm only here to be truly helpful. I'm only here to represent the love that sent me. I don't have to worry about what to say or do because the love that sent me will direct me. Okay? So I might say a prayer like that that would get me out of egocentricity. It's all about me. It would get me out of that and remind me that my function as a soul, my soul job, is to extend to others. That's devotion. That's devotion. Devotion doesn't mean, oh, I'm going to go now sacrifice for you, right? I'm going to go sacrifice for you. It means I'm going to extend myself to you in love, in service, in devotion, all synonyms. Wow. And if we did that in any area where we were feeling dispirited, fatigued, we would experience probably inspiration, like that. Inspiration comes from that. Isn't that beautiful? I'm so glad inspiration is not just something you have to wait around for to happen if maybe you're lucky. You know, I'm glad that inspiration is something I can unlock. I can unlock inspiration any moment I choose with a decision. I love that. And there are some areas in my life where I really could use some inspiration right about now. Really could, absolutely. Inspiration. Inspiration like new ideas, new insights, new revelations, new energy, new creativity, new growth. That's what I think of as inspiration. Like, I never thought of that. I could do that. Oh wow, look what I really have that I didn't even realize I have. Inspiration. Also inspiration, guidance. Guidance from your higher mind. That your higher mind is always giving you. The higher mind is constantly guiding us. Go here, do this, do that, remember this, don't forget that. It is in constant communication with us, right? And only sometimes we decide to listen and be in communication with our higher mind, but it's always speaking to us, always. And anytime we decide to stop being egocentric and actually listen to the higher mind instead of to ourselves, well, you are going to be inspired. Because it's always talking. It's always speaking to us, always. And it's not just speaking generally to us. It's always speaking very, very specifically. Go here. Do this. You need to remember this. Don't forget to do that. Don't forget this. It's very, 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 very specific to us. Because that's Holy Spirit's job. That's Holy Spirit's job. To take the universal one truth that we all share and to translate it into something, to translate it into the time and space we think we're in and the problems we think we have, right? In the language we speak. That's its job. The Holy Spirit is the translator. The Holy Spirit is the bridge. Okay? So egocentric is, I'm just listening to me. I just listen to me all day long, right? And at the end of the day of listening to myself all day long, I am worn out. I am exhausted. Now, if I had been listening to my higher mind all day long, it doesn't matter. I could be paving roads and get home and be full of energy. If I had been listening to something besides my own voice, my own self. That's what it means to be egocentric. When I'm egocentric, I'm not saying, speak to me, higher mind, or higher mind, what's your perception? Or what would you have me do? Or where would you have me go? Or how would you have me see this? Right? Or just use me, higher mind. I'm not saying those things when I'm egocentric. I'm just planning, thinking, analyzing, planning, thinking, planning. Does that make sense? You see the difference between inspiration and being egocentric. Egocentric is I'm asking and I'm opening and I'm listening and I'm extending from my soul to others. That's when I'm inspired. All right. Then it says you can speak from the soul or from your ego precisely as you choose. Now, if you speak from the soul, you have chosen to, quote, be still and know that I am God. Did you have a question? Or you just, okay. Okay, so if you are speaking from the soul, you have chosen to, quote, be still and know that I am God. I love that. So what is that? If you are speaking from the soul. Now notice it says the soul. Isn't that nice? It didn't say your soul. It said the soul. Isn't that interesting? So like there's the soul, right? And if you are choosing to, if you're speaking from the soul, then you've said, okay, I'm going to be quiet because I'm not God. I'm going to be quiet and I'm going to know that God is God, not me. Say, let me be still and know that I, says, you've been chosen to be still and know that I am God. Wow. So I'm going to be still for a moment. I'm going to go, you created me, not the other way around. You are God, not me. Interesting. That's what it means to speak from the soul.
Eckhart Tolle says that you totally shut down your mind and you go into the stillness. That you just don't, try to block all your thoughts.
Exactly.
Not even think.
Exactly. You just go into the stillness. Exactly. And I like it, that the word egocentric. I hear it saying, well, for me the message is to be egocentric means I'm unconsciously trying to be God. I'm sitting there judging what's happening. I'm trying to plan for what should happen. I think I know what's in everybody's best interest. I'm trying to decide what their reality is, and I'm trying to decide what my reality is, and I'm trying to decide what should happen, and I'm trying to decide what everything means. I'm trying to be God. I'm forgetting, oh yeah, I don't have to figure anything out. I have to establish reality. I don't have to establish their reality. I don't have to analyze or establish my reality. I don't have to judge anything. I don't have to judge anything. I don't have to decide anything. Reality's already been established by God, right? And if I'm sitting here judging or what I call observing, that's my nice euphemism for judging, right? If I'm sitting here thinking that it's up to me to establish reality of myself or others or the meaning of the situation, I'm sitting there trying to be God. I have forgotten that God is God, right? Reality's already been authored. It doesn't need any help from me, right? And he says that it is the belief that I'm under the coercion of judgment, that I have to judge to be saved, to be mature. He says it is very strange that an ability so debilitating as judgment would be so deeply cherished. In other words, the judgment is what is debilitating us. That's what's exhausting us. I'm trying to be God. I'm trying to be God. I'm trying to decide what your reality is, and I'm trying to decide what you mean, and what you should be doing, and what you should be doing, and what this situation means, and what my reality means, and what I should be doing, and what I mean. I'm sitting right here trying to be God, and that's why I'm exhausted, and fatigued, and not inspired at all. And so when you've chosen to be still and speak, when you've chosen to speak from the soul, which is interesting, when you've chosen to speak from the soul, you've chosen to be quiet and remember that God is the author of reality. God is the author of reality. I did not create myself. God did. God is the author of reality. And all I need to do is be still. That's all I need to do. That's all I need to do. All I need to do is be still and accept what is so, what's already been established by God. Thank you, God, for doing all the hard work for me. But I just can't, part of me just can't accept that it's all been done for me. And my ego is so resistant to that. I can't just accept that all good's already been done for me and I don't have to do anything to earn it or prove my worth for it. That's the least acceptable thing to your ego. But being still is the act of going, okay, I'm going to be quiet and just receive what is so. Like that heater, for instance.
It's like sometimes you get impatient, you're like, nothing's happening, I need to do something.
Yes, exactly, exactly. It's very, very difficult for our minds to accept that all of our good has already been accomplished. All of my worth, all of my identity, all of my power, all of my immortality has already been accomplished. There's nothing else I need to do. My only job, ultimately, is to just accept what's already been created for me. But I'm so egocentric. I'm so egocentric that I think that I gotta do it. I gotta do it. If I'm not gonna do it, I don't want it. If it ain't my idea, I don't want it. You ever had that experience? You know, you ever met somebody who you spoke with, and unless it was their idea, it was not a good idea? You know, and you tell them all these great ideas, and they're like, pfft, right? But then next week you talk to them, and they're telling you what you told them. It's because it's not a good idea until it's their idea. And that's the way our ego is. It's so egocentric. Right? But to the ego, if it's not its idea, it's not a good idea. Right? So when you're speaking from the soul, you just chosen to be still and know that God is God. It's already all done. It's already all been accomplished. And let me just sit here in ecstatic gratitude.
All of it?
Would you say?
All of it?
All of what?
All of it's already been done. So let's say your sister's having a terrible problem or a terrible issue. What's your role in that?
Is to remember for her that all of her reality and worth and power is still so. It's already so. It's already so that she completely deserves a miracle. It's already so that she's already been offered all the love and peace that there is.
In other words, she has the capacity to solve whatever problem it is.
Exactly. Just by accepting what's already been decided for her. You know, every soul, when it was created, was given all love, all joy, all peace, all inspiration. Every soul was given everything that God is in its creation.
So we don't have to worry because we're not responsible for the outcome.
That's right. Exactly. Exactly. I don't have. So in this. So this is in this. I'm not being asked to figure out my reality and my identity, much less everybody else's. I'm being asked to accept that God is the author of reality, and that God has already authored reality. And that's not my job to do that. Me thinking that it's my job to decide what's so for everybody is me trying to be God. Right? Now, just because everything's been accomplished doesn't mean that I don't still have a function as a soul. And that function as a soul is to extend what I have. You know, I was created with all love, all joy, completion, everything that God is. I was given in my creation. I still can contain that. I still am that. And my only function is to just extend it. Extend it. That's my only job. Not to make up my identity, not to make up anybody else's identity, not to figure out anything. It's just to accept what I am, accept what I've been given, as all souls of God have been given, and to share it with others. That's it. To accept that I'm complete. To accept my completion. I am complete. I'm not missing any parts. I'm not missing any worth. I'm not missing any value. I'm not missing anything. I have it all. I was given in my creation. I remain as God created me. And my only job is to extend it by reminding other souls, you are also, as God created you, you still have everything you were created with. You have everything that you need. You are not missing any parts. You are not incomplete. You are not empty. That's my function. Not to make it up through judgment, but to accept what I am and how it's created and to extend it to others, reminding others of that. That's genuine devotion. You have forgotten who you are. I'm going to remind you in whatever way is the least fearful for you. Whatever way you can accept that reminder without fear. That's my job. In other words, that's me being the creator that I was created to be. You know, I'm a creator too. God, I was created, but I'm also a creator. That doesn't mean I am the creator. That doesn't mean that I am the initial source. But I was created to be a creator. I was created to extend as I was extended. Okay. And when I am being egocentric, I'm trying to figure it out and make it up and decide things that have already been decided. That's when I'm being egocentric. And I can always tell when I'm in my ego because I am going to be feeling dispirited or fatigued. Isn't that great? Mm-hmm.
I find it ironic that be still and know that I'm God, when it's coming from your ego, is an arrogance.
That's right.
But when the separation disappears, and you remember that my mind is part of God's mind,
That's right.
Be still and know that I am God,
Right.
is a unified saying, and it does mean I co-created with God everything, myself included, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
So at two levels of perception there, you have totally opposite meanings of be still.
Exactly.
Know that I'm God.
That's why in the first few chapters you hear a lot of the voice of the Course saying, the Bible says da-da-da. The Bible says da-da-da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
And then it reinterprets it. The first few chapters is where he does a lot of reinterpreting. In chapter 5, the next chapter, I love it. And this is in the original but not the edited. The voice of the Course says, I'm going to tell you about some of the ego's favorite quotations from the Bible. and I thought that was hilarious because they don't say that in the edited version. Where, another one of the ego's favorite biblical quotes is vengeance is mine, saith the Lord.
Yeah.
And I will visit the sins of the fathers, generations down. That's another one of the ego's favorite biblical quotes. And so it goes through the ego's favorite biblical quotes, the ones that are particularly mean, right, and reinterprets them. So there's a lot of that kind of reinterpretation happening in the first few chapters. All right. So then it says, if you speak from the ego, these words, be still and know that I am God. These words are inspired because they come from knowledge. If you speak from the ego, you are disclaiming knowledge instead of affirming it, and you are thus dispiriting yourself. So, instruction. Do not embark on foolish journeys because they are indeed in vain. Okay, so why is that the instruction after that previous sentence? Okay, so he's talking about speaking from your ego. If you speak from your ego, if you speak from your ego. If you speak from your ego, you're disclaiming truth, you're dispiriting yourself, and you are embarking on a foolish journey. Every time you speak from your ego, you are setting yourself on a foolish journey. Interesting. And notice it didn't say every time you think with your ego. And I thought that was interesting. It says, if you speak from your ego, which makes me think, oh, okay, so if I can be in my ego, just don't speak from it. Just don't speak from it and do ask for the correction, but, if you speak from your ego, you're going to be doing three things. You're going to be disclaiming knowledge. In other words, you're going to be making yourself dumb, right? You're going to be making yourself ignorant. If you speak from your ego, you're disclaiming knowledge. The other thing you're doing is you are dispiriting yourself, which means you're going to be making yourself very tired. And the other thing you're going to be doing is you're going to be embarking on a foolish journey. What's a foolish journey? It's a journey that's in vain. Okay? It's a vain, you set your sights on something and you start to go to do something and it's totally in vain. Right? Like, for instance, a foolish journey where you're going to go plan for your happiness better than God. You're going to go plan for your happiness. You're going to go decide what should happen. And you're going to go decide what's happening. That's indeed a foolish journey. That's a vain journey. Because when you get to the end of that journey, guess what's going to have happened? Absolutely nothing. Except you're going to be very tired.
And frustrated.
And disappointed and frustrated and angry and very broke, probably. Yeah, okay. So if you speak from your ego, you're disclaiming knowledge, and you are embarking on a foolish journey, that's a journey that's in vain. Your ego may desire foolish journeys. Your ego may desire vain journeys. That's true. My ego does desire to embark on journeys that truly do not end in anything of value, right?
So what's the difference between, well, speaking on or from your ego and acting from your ego?
To me, it's the same because all thoughts produce form at some level. So basically speaking, thinking, and acting is the same because all thought produces form at some level. There are no idle thoughts, damn it. I really wish there were. When I have that awareness that every single thought is producing form at some level, woo-wee, that's shocking to me, right? And so hopefully it's going to motivate me to be much less tolerant of mind wandering, other foolish journeys, okay? So he says, your ego does desire to go on foolish journeys. That's right. So my ego only wants to do what's going to just be in vain. That's all my ego wants to do all day long. Just whatever's going to not come to anything. Whatever's going to be fruitless. Whatever's going to come to nothing. Whatever's going to be a ton of effort and a ton of money and a ton of energy for nothing, my ego is totally down for that. That's all it wants to do, right? But when I want to sit down to read some course or try to practice stillness and open my mind, ego is not interested. My ego will defend that to its last breath, right? It will defend against that, right? So the ego does, the only journey the ego wants you to go on is one that's vain. You spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of effort, blood, sweat, and tears for absolutely nothing. And where you have to pay and pay and pay and pay after it. Does anybody recognize that kind of journey? Okay? Those are the things that my ego is interested in me doing. Wow. Right. So it says, but your ego may desire those kinds of journeys, but the soul cannot embark on those kind of journeys because the soul is forever unwilling to depart from its foundation. Okay. So your ego would love to go off and do that, but your soul doesn't. It's just absolutely unwilling to depart from its foundation. So your ego's like, okay, let's go, woohoo, come on, let's go expend some time and energy and money for nothing. Yeah, come on, let's do it. But your soul is like, that's okay. I'll just wait here in the quiet. I'm going to stay here on my foundation. And so your soul doesn't do that. Thank God. Thank you, soul. Thank you, soul, for not doing that, for not embarking on those foolish journeys with me. All right. Now it's going to go talk more about what a foolish journey is, in case you don't recognize a foolish journey. It says, the journey to the cross should be the last foolish journey for every mind. It's interesting. That should be the last stupid thing that ever happened. Okay? The last foolish journey that, for what? For every mind. And because of that, don't dwell on it. Just dismiss that journey to the cross as accomplished. And if you can accept that journey to the cross as your own last foolish journey, you are free to join my resurrection. Okay. All right. So, in other words, okay, I'm going to actually read on because it explains it even better. Human living, and this is in the original, but not the edited, this next few sentences. Human living has indeed been needlessly wasted in a repetition compulsion. Okay, now there's your even better description of a foolish journey, a vain journey. What is that? Wasting your human life needlessly in repetition compulsions. Wow. Pretty heavy thought there. Okay. Can you relate with the concept of a repetition compulsion? Sometimes we call them patterns. I got this pattern. I seem to do it over and over, especially in relationships, or with money, or with my health, right? Okay, so
Definition of insanity.
it's the definition of insanity. I keep doing something, and I keep doing it, and keep doing it, and it doesn't work, and it doesn't produce joy, but I keep doing it. It's a compulsion. I have to do it, even though it goes nowhere, and it cost me a ton.
Just sounds like paying a mortgage.
Okay, well, there you go.
And
Yes.
you're like, well, I don't know why I do this, or why I'm...
I don't know why I do this, and I don't know why I keep doing it. I mean, it's really profound. I mean, there's some, it's like been and then he says, human living has indeed been needlessly wasted in a repetition compulsion. And I remember I read that first, I was like, oh my God. Oh wow, I have been needlessly wasting my human life on some repetition compulsions. Things that I'm compelled to do over and over and over and over and over, and just getting the same result, which is nothing except a lot of pain and being in debt, and then have to go to therapy, right? So that's a useless journey, and he's saying that the journey to the cross, that was the last useless journey that anyone ever need to take. So, for a second, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I didn't understand that.
Okay, I'm going to clarify that. Okay, so when he talks about the journey to the cross, okay, the voice of the Course is referring to the experience that we refer to as the crucifixion, okay? And the crucifixion, as it talks about it in this book, in various different places, is an experience where the ego tried to kill us, where the ego tried to kill a child of God. Okay, that is what that crucifixion story was meant to show. Here's what your ego would like to do to you, just in case you weren't sure, just in case you don't know what your ego has in mind for you, my friend. Take a look at that story. This is what the ego has in mind for you, because this is what the ego has and wants in the end for every soul of God, right? It wants to crucify the souls of God. Why? Because they are innocent, because they are of God, because they are pure, right? In the story of the crucifixion, what is it? People wanted to kill him because he was good. Too good, right? Okay, so that story is what your ego wants to do to you, right? The Course in Miracles says the only reason we continue to listen to the voice of our ego is because we don't know what it wants to do to us. We don't know.
The idea that self-sacrifice equals salvation.
Exactly, thank you. And it's also meant to show that what God does to whom God loves. Great, right? But the main thing that the Course says that story should teach us is this is what your ego wants to do to you because you are good, because you are of God, right? And so what I was saying earlier is that the Course says if you really knew what that voice really had in store for you, no matter what it tells you, you wouldn't listen to it. When your ego said, you wouldn't be so tolerant. You wouldn't sit there and listen for hours and days and years. You'd be like, whoa, no, I am not listening to that voice. No way, no how. I know what you have in mind for me. And I'm going to go listen to a better voice because I got a better voice in there. I'm going to go listen to that. And if I can hear that in my own mind, I'm going to pick up a book and I'm going to read it. Right? And so he's saying that the whole experience of the ego trying to kill a child of God is a useless journey. Because the child of God can't be killed. Can't kill the Son of God. You can't be killed. A soul created by God can't be killed. It's useless. It's in vain. It's, and he was saying that should be the last time that we ever allow our ego to even try. Okay? That should be the last time. There's no reason for us anymore, not 1 second longer, to even allow our ego to take us on a journey like that. Right? Because it's already been proven to be in vain. It can't be accomplished. The ego can't kill you. Right? And then the way that the ego tries to keep you doing that last foolish journey is keeping, needlessly wasting your life in repetition compulsions. Wow. In other words, we're needlessly wasting our life trying to replay the story. What story? The story where the ego tries to kill a soul of God because they're good. That story. But we're not doing it in the form of the crucifixion. We're doing it in repetition compulsions, right? Trying to attack ourselves, trying to kill ourselves, it doesn't work. Trying to attack ourselves, attacking ourselves, it doesn't work. Trying to kill ourselves, it doesn't work. All the ways that we are suicidal, but in socially acceptable ways. You know those ways? You know how our suicidal ways, but the socially acceptable suicidal ways. Right? That's how we're trying to replay that old story. The journey to the cross. Oh, look what I'm doing to myself. I'm going to crucify myself through attack, through judgment, through anger, through grievances, through attacking my body with things that are not good for a body, and on and on and on.
If I hate myself, God will love me.
Yes, exactly. If I attack myself and crucify myself, then God will love me. Exactly. Exactly. We're trying, those repetition compulsions are just just us trying to crucify ourselves, thinking that we can't do it.
So it sounds like wasting time
Yes.
is the main theme here.
Wasting time trying to crucify a soul of God when you can't.
Wasting time doing these habitual things over and over and
Yes.
over, which don't do anything for you.
Exactly.
So
And are
it's
actually
wasting your
damaging.
life.
Yes, exactly.
So that's crucifying yourself.
Exactly. All the ways that we are repeating these compulsions, compulsively repeating these things, they are not things that are good for our health. They're not good for us. They don't inspire us. They don't make us healthy. They don't energize us. They are things that actually crucify. I mean, literally, can you name one repetition compulsion right now in your life that is not damaging somehow to a body or a soul? So we're talking about all the ways that we're trying to crucify ourselves, forgetting that you can't do that. And look, it's already been demonstrated that you can't kill a child of God. Why are you continuing to try that? So, I think that's what it's saying. Does that make sense? Okay. So, now it's going to further describe the repetition compulsions. But first I just want to, I want us to go within for a second. I want you to see if you can, for a moment, identify some repetition compulsions in your own life so that this can be really practical and useful. Where is it that you just playing out that pattern over and over? Seems like the same old pattern in my relationship, in my job, in my health. Okay. All right, anybody able to identify some of those? Okay, if not,
No.
ask me, you can work on some of mine for me. Okay. All right. Okay. Here is what we are needlessly wasting our human life on. The repetition compulsion. We are needlessly wasting our life reenacting the separation, which means the loss of power and then the foolish journey of our ego in an attempt to repair. And finally, the crucifixion of the body, or what we call death. Okay, so here's the repetition compulsion in another way. We are just trying to reenact the separation. So I separate from source, I experience a loss of power because of it, and then I try to give myself power, try to make myself powerful with money, power, fame, and specialness, physical pleasure. And then I try, and then I die. That's about it. Okay? Separate from my source, experience the loss of power that comes when you separate yourself from your source, or try to. And then try to, what does it say, to repair, try to get back power, get power, get power. Oh, I need to get some power. I need to get some power. Get power through power. The course says power, fame, money, and physical pleasure. Those are all the ways I'm trying to repair. It's all the ways I'm trying to repair that loss of power, that loss of strength that I experienced when I separate from my source. When I disconnect from my source by not remembering that I didn't create myself, when I separate from my source by not being in communication with my source, well, all I'm going to experience is a loss of power. Now I feel powerless. And now my life, so that's the repetition compulsion that we're doing in our life. I disconnect from source, feel lack of power, try to repair that loss by getting power from the external world, and it doesn't work, it's all in vain, and then I die. Yay! All right.
Isn't some of it just substitution, like trying to become famous or extremely wealthy or powerful or something like that?
Yes.
Wouldn't that just be a substitution for?
Yes, exactly. It's a repetition compulsion trying to repair the illusion of the loss of power. Okay? It's all the ways I'm trying to get power from outside because I've denied my true source of power, which is my communication and my connection with my source.
It's your ego's solution to pain.
It's my ego's solution to the illusion of the loss of power, which you can't but experience. Listen, if you are not connected and experiencing your connection and being in communion with your source, and you're trying to deny it, God who? I don't need God. I'm doing fine myself.
So you're looking for the spotlight to shine down on you when the spotlight's supposed to radiate from within.
Yes, exactly. I'm supposed to stop looping that, stop the endless repetition, compulsion of trying to get power from without. Or trying to get power or get love or get peace from something besides my connection with my source, my communion, my communication with my source.
It kind of sounds like the life of an insect.
Mm-hmm.
It does.
Isn't it?
You know?
I mean, really, that is, if you see yourself as just a body and you are trying to be your own God, be your own authority, and deny that you have a creator and that you've been created, you're trying to deny that and be your own author and your own God, then the only thing you're going to experience is first of all, your human life will be needlessly wasted on you feeling totally powerless and trying to get and take power from without, it being in vain, not working, and then you die. Wow. And that is exactly how we experience life as a separate being. If you see yourself as a body, just a body, and you deny your source, I'm trying to shut him out, forget about my source, your life will just be a repetition compulsion of that old story, the journey to the cross. Wow, isn't that deep? You know, life's a bitch and then you die. That's basically the name of that story, right? The name of that repetition compulsion. Wow. So I hear that and I'm like, wow, okay, I do not want to needlessly waste my life in a repetition compulsion where I'm just reenacting the separation from my source, the feeling of a loss of power, trying to get power back, some power, some value from without, and it's in vain, and then I die. I don't want to do that. That motivates me, really motivates me to like be active in not reenacting the separation. Don't play that story out. Reverse that story. And the first way to reverse that story is to go back into communication and communion with your source. However you want to do that. Stop denying that you are not God. Stop denying that you have been created. Remember, I did not create myself. And enter back into the holy relationship that you are in now with your source. And engage that relationship and celebrate that relationship and stimulate that relationship and, use that relationship. Interesting. So the ending of that repetition compulsion that we needlessly waste our human life in is returning back to the holy relationship that we are in with our source. Letting ourselves be created again. And stop trying to be our own author. Wow. All right, we're doing great. I'm just going to finish that last paragraph and then we'll stop.
It seems like the whole world is set up to get us into this repetitive pattern.
And that's what the world was for,
Yeah.
according to the Course. It doesn't have to continue to be for that. And this is the way that the world stops being that. And it's another metaphor for reenacting the separation, the loss of power, the foolish journey of the ego, an attempt to repair itself, and finally the crucifixion of the body or death. To me, in my perception, a perfect metaphor for that is birth, where you seem to be separated from your source. Powerless, must be taken care of, right? Totally, you are born powerless, correct? You're separated from your source in birth. You experience total helplessness, total powerlessness. You spend the rest of your adult life trying to regain power that you didn't have. I'm going to get power through money. I'm going to get power through fame. I'm going to get power through specialness. I'm going to get power through physical pleasure. Trying to get that power back, and then it's all in vain. You realize you still don't know who you are, you still feel insecure, you still feel incomplete, you still feel empty, and then you die. Great! That's the story of Earth until you change it, until you decide that you're not going to waste your human life on that repetition compulsion. I'm not going to have my life be about that. I'm born, lose power, then try to spend the rest of my life trying to gain power. Doesn't work, and then I die. Wow. And that happens a lot, that the adult human gets to, they've spent their life trying to get power through all the different ways that they're going to get power. And then a certain moment comes and you're like, wow, I'm just as helpless and powerless as the day I was born. Interesting. You start life in the infancy as helplessness, and often the end of that human life is in an equal helplessness, correct? Power right? And then in despair, dear God, after all I've been doing to gain power, I'm just as helpless as the day I was born. Yay! Yay, earth. Yay, human life. And so, so the good news is that it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. And we're hearing the way that could be different, where you experience life differently. That's what I'm going for. So then it says something very important. It says, repetition compulsions can be endless unless they are given up by an act of will. Wow. So what's it going to take to break this cycle? It's going to take an act of will. That's for sure. It's going to take a decision. It's going to take, notice it says an act. It's going to take action. Interesting. It didn't even say a decision. It said an action, an act. In other words, you're going to have to make a decision, because the world sure as hell ain't going to help you to do it, right? So it's going to have to be an act of will on your part. You're going to have to be determined, in other words. That's what I hear it saying. You're going to have to make that decision and make it consciously and be determined.
Doesn't the Course say you can only miscreate to a certain point, though?
Yes, but it also says, yes, it does say you can only miscreate so long. But we all know that repetition compulsions can seem to be endless. You can just go. They go on and on and on and on and on from year to year to year to lifetime to lifetime to lifetime, right? Until they are given up by an act of will. In other words, it's undone. That repetition compulsion is ended by a decision. It's not going to be ended with anything besides you going, I'm not going to do this anymore. This is ridiculous. This is for nothing. I'm not going to do that old story. I'm not going to do my life like that. I'm not going to do my life like that. I'm not. That's the only way it can be given up. Any repetition compulsion, any long-held, deeply ingrained habits, they don't just go away until you go, I'm not going to do that ever again, and I will do whatever it takes. I don't care if it's been the rest of my life trying to give up that habit, I'm going to do it.
But
right?
don't you usually have to have a rude awakening or an aha moment?
Most usually. Most usually, exactly. Usually it just gets so horrible that, you're like, okay, there's got to be a better way. And the Course says, when the mind says that the tolerance for pain may be high, it may be real high, okay? But tolerance for pain is not without limit. And at some point, every mind reaches that limit where I cannot take it anymore. I have reached my threshold. I have reached it. I'm at it. I cannot take it anymore. And at that point, the Course says, the mind goes, there's got to be a better way. There has to be, because I can't take it anymore. I've reached my threshold for pain. I can't take it anymore. There's got to be a better way. And he says, and at that moment, that is the turning point for that soul. Because in that moment when the soul goes, I can't take it anymore, and there's got to be a better way, that's when the soul absolutely is open to receiving the better way. And that's where the Course in Miracles began being dictated. The scribe and her associate were in a really negative, backbiting, competitive, power-hungry academic environment. And one of them just said, I can't take it anymore. I can't take it, the backbiting, the competitiveness, the power-hungry, cruelty, and said, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And then Bill Thetford said, I join you in finding that. I join you in finding that. And then very shortly thereafter, Helen, the scribe, began having a series of very psychic, prophetic dreams. And very shortly after that, she heard a voice that said, this is A Course in Miracles, please take note. So, A Course in Miracles itself was an answer to a mind reaching that threshold of pain and saying, there's got to be a better way. And that's what happens that's what enables us to give up those repetition compulsions. All right.
It's the act of will is, the act of will is your surrender of your own arrogance.
Yes, exactly.
Or egocentric.
Exactly. Exactly. And also,
Self-centered.
exactly. And it, to me, in this moment, as you're speaking, what I heard was also, it's me going, oh my God, the journey that I have set myself on is completely in vain. I have set myself on this journey to make myself into more than I am. You know, that my journey, I'm going to create myself. I'm going to make myself something. I'm going to make myself something valuable. I'm going to give myself power. And then I set myself on that journey. And so, and then I realized, dear God, that didn't give me power. That didn't give me worth. All that time and blood, sweat, and tears that I have put into that effort to become somebody or have value or do something. And what did it come to? I still hate myself. And I'm broke. And I'm exhausted. Right? And I realized, oh my God, the journey I set myself on was completely in vain. It was foolish. Right? And then I go, oh wow. And then at that moment though, when you have that realization, there's some pain. Of course, that's when you reach that moment, pain.
So you miscreate until you come to that realization.
Yes. That it was all for nothing. Mm-hmm.
So what if your career is to help people? Let's say that you're a teacher. Let's say that you're a priest. Let's say that you're something like that. Then haven't you used that journey to help other people and therefore actually benefited by that?
Well, then that wouldn't be a useless journey. Remember, the useless journey is any goal you give yourself or anything, any undertaking that you set yourself that has the purpose of getting the power that you feel you don't have, or getting the worth you believe you don't have.
So it's your intention.
Because that would be
Exactly.
extending, that would be from the ego. Right?
Exactly. So a useless journey is, I've separated from my source, I don't talk to God, and now I feel powerless, and now I'm about to go out into the world and figure out a way that I can feel powerful again.
So
That's a useless journey.
That could actually be the same journey. Let's say that you wanted to be a professor because you thought you could be some world famous professor.
Yes.
Or you wanted to be a professor because you were just completely dedicated and your sole intention was to help kids.
Exactly.
So it could actually be the same journey.
Right, exactly. One has the content of devotion, the other one has the content of trying to get the power that you think you lost because you have separated yourself from your source.
One benefits the ego. And
So it
Yeah.
depends what the motivation is.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so then it says, don't make the pathetic human error of, quote, clinging to the old rugged cross. The only message of the crucifixion was that we can overcome the cross. And unless you do overcome the cross, which is what? A foolish journey. Unless you do overcome your repetition compulsion, unless you do overcome your repetition compulsion, the ways you're trying to crucify yourself compulsively. You know the ways you're trying to crucify yourself compulsively? Some of us do it through relationships, some of it's drugs, for food, there's all kinds of ways to do that. Unless you choose to overcome your repetition compulsion, well, you're free to crucify yourself as often as you choose. But this is not the gospel I intended to offer you. That's because we have another journey to undertake, and if you will read these lessons carefully, they will help to prepare you to undertake it. Okay. So there's your two options. You can either continue to do the repetition compulsion where you have a compulsion where you compulsively try to crucify yourself, or you can take another journey, It says that you will read these lists carefully, they will help you prepare you to take this, where you can take the other journey that the voice of the course intended for you. Those are your two, those are your two options. All right. So we're going to stop here. We're going to do our love offering. Thank you for your love offerings. And some announcements. And I always do a integration meditation at the end of my classes. I do it for about 2 minutes. If you need to go, you are innocent. You are innocent. You need to go. So if you'd like to learn more about my holistic counseling practice, I'm a holistic psychotherapist, and I do miracle psychotherapeutic sessions where I take traditional psychotherapy and combine it with A Course in Miracles and apply it to whatever area of life that you need a miracle in. So if you'd like to learn more about my holistic counseling practice, you can go to AnnaKujawa.com. All right. All my classes are on YouTube, and so you just put in my name, and they're all there. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do now is just close your eyes and for just a couple of minutes. I'm going to use the ideas. Okay. So first, what I want you to do is just tune in to how you feel right now. How does it feel to have heard these ideas? Centering into the feeling of these ideas, of hearing them. Beautiful. And the next thing I want you to do is to bring to your awareness one or more repetition compulsions that you can recognize in your life. An area of life where the same thing seems to continue to be happening. The same result. A repeating pattern that seems that it has been difficult to overcome. Bring to awareness a compulsion, an area of your life where you have a compulsion to do things that you yourself recognize are at the least not helpful and at worst damaging. Where is it that I seem to continually crucify myself, attack myself, and seem to not be able to stop doing it? Where is that in your experience? Okay, now that you have identified that, we go ahead and we know that this can only be overcome by an act of will, and so within our own minds and hearts we say, there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way. And now I want you to look into these repetition compulsions. And I want you to ask yourself, in these situations, how is it that I am trying to get for myself the power or worth I think I don't have? Beautiful. And then the next thing we're going to do, going in reverse mode, is to remember I am not separate from my source. I remain as God created me, which means I remain complete, with all power and worth intact. I remain powerful and worthy as God created me. And breathe back in that awareness that you never lost your worth, value, or power. You are still as powerful as God created you. You are still as valuable and worthy as God created you. Breathe it in. Feel it. Beautiful. And now to further reverse the egocentric trajectory that we had been on. Now, pick one other human being, one other soul, to extend this awareness to as a symbol in your devotion to them. They don't have to know you, you don't have to know them. They don't have to be present, they don't even need to be in a body. But go ahead and express devotion to another soul. Offer this remembrance of wholeness and completeness to them. Remember it for them. Who is it that you know of tonight that has forgotten that they remain as love and power created them? And in an act of devotion, remind them from one soul to another. And see them accepting that reminder and being healed by it. See them becoming enlightened by it. And then tune back into the quiet center within, taking note of how you feel now. And then take a deep breath, allowing that awareness and that feeling to set within you. And then, in closing, within our own selves, let's go ahead and make the decision to no longer be separate from our source. Source, I no longer will to be separate from you. And so I call to you, and I know you will answer. Source, come search out my defenses and my fear of you and correct them, bring them to healing. That I may know myself as you created me. Beautiful. Wonderful. And then when you're ready, just take a breath and come on back and yawn and stretch if you need to. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate your presence, appreciate your questions, your comments, and your open mind. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. All right, see you next time I see you.
So what you were saying about